This episode contains content and strong language that may be unsuitable for the younger viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh my god, it's a Norwegian horse!
No, the Mongolian horse.
Oh. Welcome to the Heart to Heartland podcast. Here are your hosts.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 6 of our Heart to Heartland podcast. I am one of your hosts, Isabelle.
And I'm Soile.
And we have so much cool stuff for you today. We have our first guest, which takes up our whole episode. It was such a fun interview. We're gonna have that coming for you right after this, but we have some updates for you right now.
Just few quick ones. Last week we talked about Amber's cow, Ella having a cow. She named her Bonnie, in case anyone was wondering, or in case someone didn't know yet, but that's what she named her. And then Up Faith and Family is having a contest right now where you can win autographed script, $100 gift card, and Heartland prize pack. And it's up till...
Is that just for the US?
Yeah. It's up till May 5th, so you still have time to get the, participate in case you're listening this before that date. So those were the quick ones. And did you have something to say?
So I saw this picture that you actually sent me. I think Wendy Heartland Edits founded of Sean and Jessica and their support for first responders, which is like the coolest thing ever, and I wish they had social media to promote that. But I just wanted to bring that up. And also Alicia posted a photo that caused a lot of havoc for some reason. She showed skin, and you know what, those kind of comments that people were making are not okay. She's not a little girl. Yes, she plays Georgie, but Georgie is an adult on the show, and Alicia is an adult in real life. And quite frankly, it could be a lot worse than it is. And I really don't see the difference between what Alicia posted and the fact that Amber's posted, photos of her in a bikini. What's the difference? Everything was covered.
And it's not like this is anything new. Like, you have women who are now women who grew up in front of cameras, Drew Barrymore, Miley Cyrus, whoever, and they have done things like this. And I think it's just, sometimes part of the, growing up for some people, especially if people, keep seeing them as little kids, but she's grown up, and, she's, in charge of her own body. So I don't think, anyone should be sending her anything nasty.
She was raised right. That's all. And I heard this quote once that people are frozen at the age they got famous. And Georgie, Alicia, she isn't 10 years old anymore. That is when she became, famous. But she's an adult, and, she's doing a lot of great things. And I think this picture caused a lot more trouble than it should have. If this was any other show, that wouldn't be a problem. But anyways, I just, please encourage and lift each other up. It's none of your business if someone posts a photo like that on their Instagram. Just unfollow,
Like,
not hard to do.
It's their life. Like, if you don't like it, move on. Like, she knows what she's doing, so you don't have to baby her anymore.
Like, I didn't like what Graham was posting, and I unfollowed him. It's really not rocket science. So it is what it is.
But I think those are our quick updates. But
we will get on to the interview now. Really excited. We have a very special guest coming up next. So very excited because we have our first guest in this episode, a fellow fan. If you want to introduce yourself.
My name is Neil, and I am known under several different names, one of which is Smoke and Holsters on most social media. one of which is Heartland Writer,
Oh yeah,
which
because you write
is
fan fiction.
which is my fan fiction handle. So
Very
that's
nice.
it.
We're very happy to have you on. Thank you for
Yeah.
doing this. This is going to be so cool.
We've been dying to have a guest, and it's
Yeah.
finally happening. And
I know, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
yeah.
Right. Did you want to
So
start?
yeah, like tell a little bit about your background with Heartland, like when you started to watch, and like what drew you into the show. And
Okay, I started watching Heartland because I was in a hotel room and like the third episode came on and I was sitting there captive waiting to go visit my kids in college. And I watched the episode and really liked it. I thought it was, I think it was like the third episode of the first season or something that was
Okay.
being played in anticipation of a second season. So it was sort of like they were rerunning the pilot season so that, you know, people could catch up. And then I went out and found the first two episodes so that I could catch up. And from then on, I just, you know, Sunday nights or Monday morning, first thing when they became available was when I started watching. So
How long have you been writing fan fiction for?
I started writing fan fiction when I became semi-retired. I'm 62, so I'm not a young person by any means. I'm sort of early middle age, and I started writing fan fiction first for myself. I think everybody does that first. You know, they write and then I'm not going to publish this. And then,
That's what I do.
eventually, you know, you say, okay, I'm going to do this, and you publish something, and then you go back and read it 3 years later and say, oh my God, I can't believe I actually wrote that.
Well, who's your favorite on Heartland then?
That's a hard question because it's changed over time. I guess, you know, it's probably Amy.
Okay, yeah.
Although I really like Georgie this time around. I've always liked Jade.
Yeah.
I always kind of thought that they misused Jade's character. I think they should have done different things for her. But aside from that, you know, I used to be, my opinions have changed a lot. You know, going back and writing, and you sort of start analyzing scenes and stuff, you realize that, you know, I sort of realized that the characters I really liked, maybe I don't like them so much anymore. So
Yeah.
Like in the last episode, we were talking about like growing up with the show and then, you know, going back to older episodes and then rewatching with a different mindset and going like, oh,
yeah,
different this time around.
Yeah, that's what happened with me.
You know, all of us have written fan fiction, and then, you know, when you're writing, you get into people's heads and start to think about things from a different perspective. So I think that's a good starting point for today's topic of discussion. And actually, in preparation, I found this study that says, you know, in TV general, across platforms, female characters were more likely than males to play personal, life-oriented roles such as wife and mother. In contrast, male characters were more likely than females to play work-oriented roles such as business executive. Sorry.
No, you're good.
For example, 52% of female characters, but 38 of males were seen playing personal life roles, whereas 56 of males, but 42 of females played work-oriented roles. So it's kind of a, you know, typical kind of gender role thing going on. Like, what do you think with Heartland? Like, do you see that?
Yeah, have they done a good enough job for female empowerment, first of all, when it comes to gender roles? What do you think?
Because you often hear like, you know, Heartland is a very feminist show, but you know, what do you guys think about that?
Well, I think that Heartland is actually exactly the opposite of your study. Every female in the show is in a non-gender specific role for the most part. I mean, yeah, Lou becomes a parent, Amy becomes a parent, but the truth of the matter is they're all business people. They all earn money. And in fact, one of the things I realized rewatching, a bunch of times in writing is that Amy is the driving financial force in the family for many years.
Yeah.
I mean, for the first 3 or 4 seasons, no one else earns a dime.
Yeah.
It's just Amy. And, that's a very forward-thinking way of dealing with it, except for the fact that the writers don't make that an issue in terms of their gender role. Meaning Jack is always in charge, Tim is always in charge, Ty's opinion always matters more. It's just a continuous, it's such a weird relationship in that, say for me, I grew up in a very matriarchal home. My mother was in charge. My father worked, they discussed everything, but the final decision was always my mom's, always.
Yeah.
And it's so exactly opposite on Heartland. It's just such a weird way of looking at it, that the final word is always the person that shouldn't really get the final word.
Yeah.
How many stalls in a barn you have should be up to the person who's earning money using the barn and supporting the ranch. It's not up to the guy whose cows are out in the field somewhere else. It just seems so ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
it was in season 7, Amy and Ty had these discussions about, I wanted to be the provider or whatever. And I think that was interesting that they actually, had that discussion. I mean, they didn't reach an understanding in a way, because, Amy goes off to Europe and Ty
it goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
Well, they do. And that's actually something that happens from that season on.
Yeah.
Is this constant Amy success and Ty not being happy that he's not that person. This whole going to Mongolia, to me, at least for the show, as opposed to what we really know happened in the background, it's more like, I can't carry the baby.
Yeah.
So I have to make a better world for my daughter by saving a baby goby bear, which is probably dead 2 episodes later. I mean, or in captivity. I mean, the truth is, they saved the goby bear and they put it in a cage. Last thing we see of the goby bear is a cage. We don't see the goby bear free again. So you save the goby bear for the zoo, or eventually someone will raise the goby bear, let it loose, and this idiot's going to go and shoot it.
Yeah.
Because there were 9 left or something. I mean,
something like that. Yeah.
So anyway, so there's no real acknowledgement that the women do what they do. Lou saves the farm by renegotiating the bank deal. Amy works for season after season after season. Every single episode, she's got a customer. And Lisa is always involved in Fairfield. Lisa's at first the wealthy looker in. Eventually, Georgie becomes the champion rider, and has aspirations to the Olympics, and one of all the guys do.
Yeah.
Ty goes from wanting to be a vet to not wanting to be a vet in 14 seasons.
That's
Season
true.
12, episode 1, Ty says, I don't like being a vet. I want to follow you around and, lead your horses around. That's what it becomes. He's still somehow a partner while saying the words that fixing dogs and cats and bunnies are just not my thing.
Yeah. If they didn't kill him off, I wonder where that would have went.
Well, I don't know where any of it would have went, but I think the point is that this entire ranch is basically kept afloat by women. I can't remember the last time they had a viable herd that they weren't splitting the profit amongst 3 people towards the end, or 2. It just, none of it makes any sense, except for the fact that the women are always working.
Yeah,
that's true.
So they've switched these gender roles around, where not only do they make their women work, but they make their personalities in such a way as to make them dependent on the males, even though it's actually the other way around.
Yeah. No, you're right by saying that.
Do you think that, you know, there's often times when people point out that Amy doesn't charge enough, or like she's doing things, you know, just because she wants to help? Like, do you think that's kind of on purpose to kind of keep her back financially in a way, or locked in that kind of box?
I don't know that at the beginning that's the way it is. I think, you know, Lou is there basically dealing with everything financial that has to go. So I'm sure she's making sure that at least enough is being charged to cover expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And that's you know, and that's the other thing. I mean, Lou does that, and Amy works, and then Lou opens a dude ranch, marries a millionaire and loses a millionaire. You know, I mean,
yeah.
So that's it. You know, it's almost as if with Lisa, they never really acknowledge Lisa's wealth or her status.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she drives around in the nifty Porsche.
Yeah, gives nice gifts.
But the truth is, it's sort of like ridiculous. I mean, towards the point where all these people can't fit in the ranch house. Well, who's living at Fairfield? I mean, why isn't Lou and Peter and the kids moving into Fairfield at this stage?
I've had that thought too.
Or Amy and Ty and the baby go live at Fairfield, especially when they start taking care of all the Fairfield stuff. And part of the other things that they don't do, and I've talked to this with Soile a million times, is that this show would be completely different if Lisa turned to Amy and say, why don't we partner up? You convince my thoroughbreds to win and help me train my horses, and then, you know, open up some jumping facility or start breeding jumpers. And they never do that. They never put the most successful pair of women on the show together.
Oh, never. They haven't ever.
And it's just, it's absurd. It's almost as if they push every line possible to keep their success at a minimum. Because if they got too successful, what would the men do?
Yeah, actually, though, because what else is for them to do? They don't do anything besides cows, basically. And even that,
Tim eventually goes off and does what he does.
Yeah.
You know, but it just, none of it really makes it. You know, at one point in like season 4, after the Ring of Fire thing, and you know, she says about Chase that, you know, we have to stick together. And Ty says, all of a sudden you're one of them. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole reason she did the Ring of Fire was because it's what Marion did.
Yeah.
Victor meets Marion while she's doing these cult starting shows.
Yeah.
To spread the word that this is how I do it, join ups and all of this. And it seems like kind of weird that Ty's the one who takes her in and says, this is a picture of your mother when she won the Ring of Fire here, standing on the horse. And then the next season, it's sort of like, well, why would you want to do that? Well, basically, I don't know, because it was fun. And because you were there and you told me to do it and I did it. So we're out of that. We don't do any more cult starting thing because it would make Amy too famous.
Yeah.
And the show can't deal with it.
Yeah. And it's not like, you know, she does these like clinics. It's kind of the same, you know, showing that she can do these things and then, you know, spread the word. But then, you know, I don't know.
And you never see them. You know, you always hear, well, I haven't done a clinic in ages.
Yeah.
That's her line. And look, how many times in the course of 14 seasons has she lost all of her customers because of something some guy did?
Yeah, basically.
You know, I mean, and it's almost like, you know, the show is about Amy surviving,
basically,
you know, the men in her life because
for real.
No one ever seems to really be on her side.
Yeah. That's true. Do you think, you know, I don't remember what season it was, but Georgie was doing this school project about, you know, careers or something. You know, she was doing that with Val, but then was showing more interest in what Amy and Lisa do. Like, do you think they will allow Georgie to go on a different path than Amy, you know, have her succeed and go off to the world, or, you know, especially with Olympics stuff, because that's kind of what she's been doing lately.
Well, I think that's going to either disappear or she's going to want more time off, because I don't see, they train for the Olympics in Quebec.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to, you know.
I didn't know that either.
Equine Canada is in Quebec.
Oh.
And so, you know, the Olympic, I looked, I mean, I've checked writing fan fictions, I've checked to see, you know, where people are, what, you know, what happens, you know, and I'm also like, I also love double checking the show. So I've looked up Vets Without Borders and seen what they do. They don't do anything like what Ty and Bob did, but, you know, they're basically in education. They don't go and, you know, track down poachers. That's like ridiculous. But, you know, so look, she can't train to be in the Olympics at Fairfield.
Yeah.
They you know, you actually go to where the Olympic coaches are. You know, not everybody doesn't show up with their own coach.
Yeah.
You know, you sort of become part of the team. And so I'm not really sure what the plan is. I think the option is to allow Alicia the opportunity to, you know, basically play the Graham, I'm going to be away for 3 episodes show.
Yeah, basically.
But I don't know that that's going to be the, I mean, I don't know where they'll go with that. I hope Quinn will stay. Because I think that's something they also do with the women on the show is make them so fickle, you know, in their personal lives that it's almost impossible to like see the relationships.
Yeah.
Even Jack and Lisa, I know, you know, you guys are big Gisa fans, but the truth of the matter is, you know, dude, you're 70. Your wife's got to go to Europe for business for a month. Man up, you know? I mean, this constant whining and falling apart when your wife is away it's, you know, what are you, 12?
Yeah.
It's what teenagers do. When their boyfriend or girlfriend goes to camp.
Yeah, been there.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, but you've been there, but you're not 70 and married to, you know, I mean.
Yeah, basically, exactly, though. Who knows how old he is at this point? Like, realistically, he should be slowing down a little bit, but.
Yeah, I mean, part of my problem is that when I say my characters change is that I think I expect more growth over 14 years than we actually experience in any way, shape, or form. People in season 14 are basically treated exactly the way they are in season 1 half the time.
Yeah.
You know, and some things are so blaringly ridiculous. Like, you know, Amy has no friends, or she has this imaginary friend named Cass who shows up every now and then. You know,
exactly.
You know, this season I'm trying to figure out like what was the point of having Carrie? I mean, I love Carrie's character, but the truth of the matter is he doesn't fit anymore. Because he was always there as Ty's, you know, bro and foil, and you know, and so wouldn't it have been better to have, you know, a couple scenes where Cass is trying to get her to step back into the world, as opposed to, you know, Caleb showing up with his kid and having this whole other thing.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe since, you know, Ty died, they are trying to cover that young dad spot with Caleb or something like?
Well, it's possible, but you know, Caleb is not that guy. He's not the guy to do that. It would have been better had, like, you know, Amy gone and met some other father who, you know, whose wife is, say, a physician, and he's the home, you know, he takes care of the kid, and they meet at, say, some music, you know, sit around with your kids or some social kind of, you know, weekly social gathering, which they don't do at all on the show. You know, Amy's like the worst mom in the world when it comes to socializing your kid, since we've never seen her socialized at all.
Yeah.
No contact with other kids, no contact with anybody her age. You know, she's not in school yet. She's like wanders around, gets passed from person to person on the ranch, where at least they had Lou do some stuff. Lou had Marnie, they had kids, you know, they talked about school and stuff. There's none of that goes on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think Lindy's supposed to be starting preschool or something. And it would be season 15 because she is that old to be going to school now.
But I mean, wouldn't it have been great to have Cass in 2 episodes where they could sit around and talk about school, or have some conversation about the future and where they are, and Cass saying, you know, I'm swamped. I was always swamped because your husband never came to work, but now I'm like doubly swamped because he's dead. And you know,
and like with the
trust Caleb to do this. So.
Yeah, because Scott's non-existent now. So
Scott's non-existent.
Cass isn't. So what's gonna happen to the vet clinic? It's just kind of gonna be.
They've dismantled the vet. I mean, when I was Scott Lepp, one of the last things I think we heard from Scott Lepp was they took apart the vet clinic set.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, and really, they took apart the vet. No, they did it at the end of like. As soon as season 11 ended, they had already written the season 12 opening. They just pulled apart the set.
Yeah. They decided it was like.
That's it. Season 12 starts off with Ty deciding he'd rather be a ranch hand than a vet.
Yeah.
Because that's as far as I'm concerned what he becomes.
I'll have to watch season 12. I don't know if I remember that.
It's just episode 1. Just watch episode 1. You'll bang your head into the wall and say, how did this conversation ever even start?
Yikes, that's cringy.
Yeah, I don't think I think you've said you haven't really watched season 12.
No, I don't really know what happens in season 12. No, that I'm gonna have to watch it now. That's crazy.
So I think that, you know, the women, they're strong women because they do what they have to do. They wake up every morning and do their jobs. But the truth is they're not treated as strong women in the script. They lose, you know, a dithering idiot half the time because she's involved with some guy. And the truth is she's supposed to have been this financial Wall Street genius. Well, I can tell you, knowing several Wall Street geniuses, that Lou is way too emotional for that world. She would never have survived. Because when you wake up in the morning and find out that the stock you've been pushing is gone, you freak out. And you have to be able to get over that hump and move forward. And she's just way too emotional to do that.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's kind of what I've been hoping for, that they would do with her character, like focus, you know, on her mayor stuff or whatever. Like this back and forth with Mitch is just like waste of her character and what they could do with her.
Well, and even her mayoral stuff. It would have been one thing had she argued with Peter and Rick about what to do and found out to be right her way. Instead, she is only successful because she listens to Rick and Peter. You know, she doesn't get to make that decision. It's just like with Lisa. She doesn't get, you know, it's like all of a sudden Jack's opinion needs to rescue a woman who has basically run this business since her father died. You know, which is another really wild part. You never hear Lisa mention to Jack that maybe it's time you let Amy step up a little at the ranch. You know, I mean, it's just absurd. We have what season 6 is the first time she mentions expanding the barn. We go from season 6, season 8. After season 8, Amy has zero desire to succeed, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, I think when she came back from Europe and she was kind of made to be this bad guy with these like plans to extend the barn, and then, you know, everyone shut her down, and then she was like, well, you know, that's it.
Yeah, well, that's it. They push the gender part and then they take it away. She succeeds, she makes money. I've got, how many times have you heard, I've got clients up to I'm up to here in clients.
Yeah.
Which then they just disappear. By the end of the season, you know, that's where they are. You know, it's almost amazing. Season 8 ends. She's married to a vet who is made a partner 4 episodes later. They're doing great. They're both working. They're both finding their way. And then what happens between season 8 and 5 years later, the only place they actually fit is in her bedroom from season 1.
Yeah.
There's no zero growth. They have literally gone nowhere in 13 years.
Yeah.
Aside from
like Lou and
having
Peter
sex.
In that whole situation. Like,
They have sex, they have a kid, they get married, they, you know, they have all this stuff, but in the end, they have nothing. They literally have nothing. Yeah,
and Ty's dead.
I think Ty's role in the show towards the end was this whole, you know, this up and down drama that Conky loves to talk about. Like, you know, it's not a season without the drama.
Yeah.
Ty's role for the past, since season 10, has literally been drama.
Yeah.
There is not one episode where he's there and the episode is not specifically about something that happens that causes a dramatic problem.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's where they're at. They're at this really, you know, they've decided to take the formula they've used all along. Amy succeeds and Ty leaves.
Basically.
And now, you know, and they change that into, well, I mean, Amy succeeds and Ty leaves. You know, she gets pregnant and he goes to Mongolia. But, you know, the truth of the matter is that I think I wrote this whole thing on Tumblr back when, after 12-1, after this episode that just blew me out, that he didn't want to be a vet or a regular vet, is that, so what is his job at this stage of the game?
Yeah, because he doesn't have he didn't have regular clients that would come out to the ranch so he could, you know, vet them.
He wouldn't have any clients.
Yeah,
why would anyone
following Amy?
Why would anyone bring, look, you have your choice. Scott has been a vet dealing specifically with horses, or a lot with horses, for the past, 20 years, because he became a vet way before the show starts. And he owns his clinic. And then, you know, your horse gets sick. So you go to the guy who is, you know, only been a vet for 2 years and spent, or 3 years, and spent the majority of that time dealing with things not horse related.
Yeah.
You know,
he's
got wolves and bears, and the you know, yeah, and you know, if your wolf gets sick, sure, Ty's a good shot at figuring out what's wrong.
But then there's also Bob.
Why would anybody with $100,000 horse go to Ty and not go to Scott?
Yeah.
So Amy basically has always gotten horses that have, quote unquote, seen the vet and they don't know what's wrong, right?
Yeah.
That's where we're at. So if that's the case, then second of all, you know, they don't have a facility. How's Ty exactly, you know, the whole idea that you're examining my, again, $100,000 jumper in your barn, clipped to the side, you know, you have no machines. There's, you know, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, if it's behavioral or it's something that, you know, is dealable holistically, then you go to Heartland. And, you know, Ty's job is to make sure that Amy doesn't kill your horse. But, you know, I don't know. We don't see him doing vet work all through season 12, at least at the ranch.
Yeah.
And the thing, and in season 13, he's so helpful as a partner that within one episode, she goes from 12 clients to no clients.
Right.
Because once again, no one wants to listen to Amy. When Amy says something, it's basically merely a suggestion for you to turn around.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to
Yeah.
work on a cloned horse. Well, you have to work on a cloned horse because Lisa needs you. I don't want to do this. Well, you have to do that because this one needs you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And-
rather than going on and saying, look, I'm Amy Fleming, this guy is a loser, and everything he's writing is basically a lie, and you can believe me because you've known me for 14 years, they decide to tuck tail and run away.
Yeah.
We'll take the guy on as a client.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
the result is we lose all our clients.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
And in season 12, I think,
Just-
you know, had Lisa not kind of stepped up and offered this opportunity for them, like, you know, what would have they been doing otherwise? And even besides that, it wasn't Scott Lisa's, you know, choice of a vet or something. But then suddenly, you know, Ty's doing the vet stuff.
Oh yeah.
yeah, there's no making any sense at all of how they use the partnership in all of this. You're absolutely right. When Lisa says, I'm giving you guys all my business.
Yeah.
You know, when Lisa says, I'm giving all you guys Fairfield's business, well, what exactly does that mean in terms of actually
Yeah. Because you
doing
don't ever
business?
see them there.
Keep going back to, if you're going to give women a forward role, then you got to follow through.
Yeah,
Mhm.
agree.
And there's something they just
Yeah.
don't do. They don't
They
follow
just kind of
through on that.
half-ass it.
Well, and they always make it as if somehow women become responsible for men, but only in the background. You know, did they have to actually write this stupid last episode of 13 where Ty, quote unquote, saves her life? Even though there's no way anybody who's ever watched a crime show would think that that's the case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know,
that's
if you've
true.
ever watched someone shot on a television show other than Heartland, you know, you would never think that.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then in season 14, Jack says he lives on through your, you know, what you do. She
Mhm.
tells Amy, well, what bullshit is that? She doesn't represent him in life.
Yeah. I sure
You
hope
know, all
not.
of a sudden it's now her job to carry forth his legacy. I don't even know that it's Lindy's job,
Yeah.
but it's certainly not Amy's job,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
She already has her own legacy and
Mhm.
her own role and
Yeah.
everything. Like,
Ty's legacy is his own legacy, not anyone else's to carry on.
yeah.
Right. And the truth is his legacy is always like sort of warped, you know. I don't know really what his aspiration in life was other than to be like he tells Cass, who tells him that you're an idiot, basically. That, you know, I want a dog and, you know, a couple kids and a nice house. Well, you know, that's not the life you're in, dude. I mean, you're a vet. Your wife's a horse whisperer. You're not getting that life. You're not getting up and putting on a suit every day and heading into the office.
No.
You know, and she says that's sort of a naive way to look at life. And it's the life that Conky wants to like present, although it's just not that life.
Yeah.
These men are just not home. None of them are home. Jack was away when he was married. Tim was away when he was married. Ty goes away when he's married.
Peter.
Yeah.
Peter goes away when he's, every single
Yep.
man on this show is exactly the same. Their moral core is warped to the side, and they decide on things based on what a very masculine way of looking at things.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know?
Sexist.
How many people can you hit before you get pulled off to the pokey? You know, I mean, you can't beat the prince of a sovereign nation and walk away. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And he never had
So-
security or anything like this. That whole thing did not make sense to me. That whole
No,
Prince
I look,
Oliver
I
thing.
wrote, you see, and it's these points where my fictions come from.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So in season, I have a fic where Ty, you know, Jack takes him to the crossword in season 4, and he doesn't come back. Amy
Mhm.
marries Mitch. 4 years later.
Nice.
Okay.
Oh, that would be
I
cool.
have one where my current fic literally starts the day after Amy picks Ty up in season 8, Ty and Caleb up after bailing them out. And she just picks up and leaves.
Yeah, I would have left.
She leaves. She goes to Victor. She goes back to Europe. She comes back. The show starts again. The story starts again 8 seasons later when she's a millionaire.
Yeah.
You know?
Because she could easily be a horse whisperer and a millionaire at the same time.
Yeah.
Like if she would have came back in season 8, and people would have just like accepted her for as she is and maybe even, you know, did renovations to the barn. Like it could have been a really good thing, not bad. If she would have just been supported, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, because they made it seem like, you know, her wanting to work with these
high society people.
It would automatically mean, you know, she's bad or greedy or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't think that's Amy. I think she wants to help. And, you know, if she would have that money to help even more horses, then that's like even better.
Yeah,
So,
I think so.
You know, I basically, I write my fics when I hit these points where I just can't stand the storyline anymore.
Yeah.
So, and it's usually a one shot just to address, you know, like the whole Me Too part of season 8.
Yeah.
Whereas I have one fic, a one shot where Amy's returning from 2 years in Europe that she signed up to do so that Ty doesn't go to jail in season 8.
Yeah, because he would have gotten
She
jail
walks
time.
out of Heartland a couple of, you know, weeks after Ty's been arrested. The State Department is pushing that he go to jail. He's hit this guy. You know, that the king is really pissed off. His son was beaten outside this person's house. And Amy says, I will come back and train your horses if you let Ty go.
Yeah, that would have been much better.
And so,
much better.
Well, I mean, in the fic, she's returning 2 years later when her contract is up. She's no longer with Ty because he can't get over the fact that she saved his ass. You know, he's got this whole male thing. I have to do it on my own.
He's very insecure.
Right. Yeah. And so she's back. She's got a load of money. Lisa's got issues with Fairfield because I used the actual storyline at that point. Ty's getting ready to go to Mongolia. Amy says, have a good time. And she becomes Lisa's partner.
Yeah, don't come back.
You know, and, you know, so I have that. I have one where, like I said, you know, she goes away, you know, Ty leaves season 4, you know, goes to the crossword, hits that vet stop and never leaves. That's where he is.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's where my fics come from. And as I was saying, because Soile wants to talk about inclusion.
Yeah.
So
buckle up.
in my fics, I sort of, anything that's long enough to include it, I include, well, so far they've been lesbians because I think the world is more acceptable of lesbians than they are of gay men.
Yep.
And I had mentioned this to Soile the other day. They did this show Hudson, right? They start this whole situation. They don't do a second season, and they include none of that really as part of Heartland. So any advance we made in sort of being woke disappears immediately.
Yeah.
They did like the absolute bare minimum.
Well, you know, how hard would it be to have brought, you know, Bianca Rocca back in for 2 episodes just to wait tables so we could see her? She doesn't have to be necking. She doesn't need a rainbow shirt. Just so that you can see an inclusion. It's sort of like this year, you know, is Rick gay? Well, you know, we assume he's gay because the writers have given him a gay demeanor, which is actually demeaning.
Yeah.
Because, you know, not every gay man acts like the quintessential gay man.
Yeah.
You know?
Some are just more feminine than others and without being gay.
Right. So Michelle mentions that it's so special to have a gay man playing a gay character on Heartland, yet they don't make him a gay character on Heartland, aside from his demeanor.
Yeah.
If he was going home to his husband, or seen walking hand in hand with someone, or this is my partner, Don, or whatever, it would at least acknowledge the fact that he's gay.
Yeah.
Aside from people just assuming he's gay.
Yeah.
When there are people who act like that who are not gay. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and with Amy, you know, she has a lot of clients, and you know, they could bring in someone who has a same-sex partner or something like that, you know, just to show that, you know, they are living the everyday life anyone else is. It's just like,
yeah, it doesn't have to be some sort of big, you know, coming out party. It could be just like, oh, hey, this is my girlfriend. Like,
right. And they don't need
like
to have a big discussion about it. They don't need to make someone anti-gay to say that. They just have to make, like I said, she goes to bring her daughter to socialize and finds out that the woman she's dealing with lives with another woman, that they've adopted this child or, you know, had, you know, in vitro fertilization or whatever, and they're raising the child. Child is being raised by a lesbian couple or a gay couple. And
exactly.
yet, you know, I'm not asking, you know, I'm not asking anybody to say anything derogatory, anyone saying don't bring them to the house. I don't want to see none of that. But just to have them be a normal part of life.
Exactly. Exactly it.
Yeah. And that's really what I think people want is inclusion. I don't think they need to be the star or anything. They just want to see gay people in action, so to speak. You know, living their lives. Being part of society.
Yeah, and I don't know why they haven't done it. I don't understand in 14 years.
Because I think that they write the show for the audience, and I think that the audience, you know, they've decided. You can hear it when they talk about the first few seasons. They wanted to write a show where everybody could sit down, you know, from age 8 until age 90, and watch the show and be happy. They certainly did not do that. He's a criminal when he shows up. You know, his criminal girlfriend shows up at one point. And, you know, within an episode, he's like, you know, they're off to steal horses. I mean, they just do the most illegal crap in the world on the show. So, you know, I don't know why you would want to. Do you want, you know, the show at the end of season 1, she's 15, he's 18. You know, I think most parents want their kids to, you know, think that that might be just a little odd.
Yeah, because she's a minor.
She's a minor. She's a minor, and the truth of the matter is, you know, I would certainly, you know, I watched the show with my daughters, and one of which is literally Amy's age. You know, Soile, you're really pretty much Amy's age in this thing. And, you know, the outrage my daughter felt in some of these scenes was just palpable. I mean, you could just see her seething watching the show. You know, I mean, just in season 8, when he rides away, she says, my daughter says, if he's not back to apologize and to find out what happened to her in the next episode, I'm done. I'm just done. You know, because, you know, you don't just turn your back on your partner. She's obviously traumatized. This guy has obviously followed her from
like
Europe,
stalked her. Yeah.
And stalked her.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care. None of them care.
He just cares that he was lied to.
Conversation. There is not one. He doesn't care that he was lied to. He cares that she's successful. And that somehow he's not good enough for her. That's really where we are. 13 seasons in. If she loses a client, it's his fault, and nothing will stop him from righting that wrong. There's a hurricane coming or a twister, and he's leaving to right a wrong because he's not happy with the outcome. He doesn't care about his family. Anyway, so getting back to inclusion, I don't understand why they don't do it. Yeah. They've certainly dealt with
I have
issues,
an idea why, but
well, I know why, and the reason is because they're beholden to UPTV.
Yeah, they're gonna lose all their money if Up TV drops them. And
yeah,
Up TV
because
drop them
I think the evidence is in that when they aired Hudson, yeah, they edited out all the scenes that had like any type of,
representation.
Yeah.
That's it. They definitely edited out. They literally edited out the fact that there's a gay rodeo.
Yeah.
And a gay rodeo association.
And that's actually something that happens. So it's not like something they made up for the show to kind of.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the conservative fan base, I don't think any of this would be happening. But they would lose a lot of their fans and probably Up TV if they added an LGBTQ, an openly LGBTQ plus character to the show. That's how I imagine it's going to happen anyways, if they ever did.
Yeah. And going back to, watching the show with your whole family, what a great way would it be to kind of have those characters included just to show, they're part of everyday life and you will meet them. And, just treat them as, anyone else.
They're normal people. Exactly.
And have those conversations about inclusion and,
I mean, look, I ship Jade. I always thought Jade was the perfect character to at least make bi or accepting of a relationship. So I've always shipped Jade and Avery. I think that would have been a perfect pair.
Yeah.
But they're not going to do that. I mean, I don't expect them to make Georgie gay. I don't expect them to make Katie gay.
Yeah.
No.
But I find it almost impossible to believe that you could go your entire life and not run into a gay person who has an effect on your life at this stage of the game.
Yeah.
And I remember when Adam was introduced to the show and, then he went on to have a relationship with Georgie. Like, some people were furious about that. And I think that was just like weird because
I was furious, but not because he was black. I was furious because I thought they were absolutely the worst couple in the universe.
Yeah.
I have never seen a couple act more oddly towards each other. I mean, aside from Amy and Tom.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense to me. They had nothing in common, literally nothing.
Yeah. And the fact that maybe they already kind of decided that this relationship was going to be doomed. And then, Adam is written out and then it's just mostly white people and that's it.
Yeah.
They really don't have any kind of racially diverse anything. I mean, I actually asked Soile to get a picture of Carson, Caleb's kid, because I wanted to see if they actually made him at least resemble a mixed couple.
Yeah.
Because, and they did. So that's nice because that they did that. But they don't really have, they had Caleb dated a black woman, right?
Kelly.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess Soraya would have been considered.
Soraya.
But you know, they never really gave Soraya much to do. She was sort of like this wishy-washy friend in the background. So
yeah, they don't have any racially diverse people as a main character.
Well, indigenous they did. They had Scott for a long time, and you know, Scott was a good representative of indigenous, you know, of First Nation people. But you know, aside from that, you know, to have like a regular Black or Latino thing, they just never did that. So I mean, I do. I put everybody in my stories.
Yeah. I remember back in season 5 when Price was introduced, like I remember people being excited about that because he's using a wheelchair, but even the actor, you know, he was able-bodied, and some people took offense of that because, you know, they could have given that role to someone who could have, you know, be better
actually in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, there was the writer, I forget her name, who is actually famous, but
on the show, like one of the writers on the show,
the writer who,
the Olympian, I can't remember her name either.
Maybe Laura
Lauren
or something. So
I mean, look, they could have Amberlynn Snyder on also. I mean, she would fit perfectly with the show for at least an episode, but I don't know that they ever talked about that.
Yeah, like even that they fail in that part.
I think they fail in a lot of things. I think they fail in showing Amy's mothering instincts. I mean, can you imagine? They're 4 years in, the kid's 5 at this stage of the game because we skipped the famous year, and she's never sang to her daughter.
Yeah.
You imagine Amber Marshall has never sang to her, or Amy Fleming has never sang to her daughter, not once, not a lullaby, nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for much. Hush, little baby, don't you cry, you know. But like, there's nothing like, there's no scene of her really comforting her daughter. There's no scene of her just sitting and teaching her daughter, blocks her. There's more of that with Jade in her than there was
I was just about to say that even Jade did the body training, and
I was really I was really upset that there's no scene of her breastfeeding her daughter.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for the famous Alicia photo that's now, you know, 4 days in. I'm asking for a nice, staid baby in a blanket up against her, feeding her child. Nothing.
Yeah, they don't have to show frontal nudity. Just like that's not
it.
what we're
all right.
asking
They
for.
mention, you know, that she has bottles in the fridge or whatever. So we basically know if you actually old and, you know, have paid attention to such things, that she's pumping milk. But come on, how hard is it to show a bonding between these two? You know, it just, you know, they show Ty bonding more than they show Amy bonding with her.
And I remember when Amy, you know, got pregnant, people were kind of like, oh, yikes, is she going to be like she was with Katie in season 7? But then at the same time, you know, she's great with older kids. So I was like, well, I think she'll be fine. But, you know, even now, she doesn't, you know, she does horse stuff with Lindy, but where's the like other stuff?
Yeah.
Well, and there isn't any. There is no mothering that we see going on. That, you know, look, packing your kid off to go for a music lesson, you know, or sitting with Kaz and a younger and the baby and whatever, and Amy saying, here, let me take Carson for a while, give you a break. We don't get that. We get it with Caleb. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, how hard would it be for Cass to say, look, you know, I know you're busy and you have Lindy, but I have a horse that you need to see.
Yeah.
You know, can you meet me at, you know, I'll send you, you know, coordinates. You meet me at the ranch. You know, nothing. It's as if you know, she calls, there's one mention of Cass and Amy as she's on the phone with Cass and say, I know you're busy, but I need you to come look at this horse.
Yeah.
You know, and it's sort of like, really, that's how they're going to handle this? The same way they couldn't handle See You Next Week, Shane, over 7 years?
Oh my God, that's the worst
I-
storyline.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That
Shane storyline, train wreck.
Well, you know, it didn't have to be. They never had to bring him back. They never had to. All they had to do was mention him every now and then. The whole idea that he doesn't exist, he wasn't at the wedding. How hard would it have been to say, the first letter we're going to read at the wedding was from Shane, who couldn't make it because he's in school. You know, nothing. As if, you know, he was there and now he's gone. So what does that mean? Does that mean Tim is now absolutely the completest asshole on the face of the earth?
I was talking to Soile about it. Remember, I don't know what comment it was, but Amy and Lou had said something about they don't have a little brother, or they wish they had a brother in season 14. And I messaged you and I was like, what about Shane? Apparently the writers have forgotten about Shane too.
Yeah.
Well, they forgot Will's wife's name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, they changed the name.
Right? Her name was like Barbara or something.
Oh, Loretta or...
Yeah, and then he filmed the episode. They gave his wife a completely different name.
Yeah, I was like, did he have two wives or like what?
No, he had the one wife. They completely screwed it up. Just the worst.
And even with Georgie, like after season 10, like there's no mention of Jeff. Like he's he's never there.
Yeah, like
well, they're all
you think
in my
her brother
fix.
would be at the graduation or something.
Yeah,
they're all in my fix.
Yeah,
that's where they are.
I put Shane is, you know, Amy does not give up on Shane in any of my fix. She's there for him, you know, and they have a good relationship. And I think there's that, you know, as the episodes, I don't know. I don't know how you forget a brother. He's even got a stone.
Yeah,
I know.
Right? There's an episode where they go through the stones. Lou's got a chart, and they're, you know, before like Lisa gets her famous stone because Amy's such a bitch. Why is Amy, all of a sudden Amy is like the biggest bitch in the world? She doesn't want Lisa to have a stone.
Yeah.
When has this woman ever been selfish?
No kidding.
She is just not that person.
Yeah, no. I don't get what you know,
all of a sudden they're like, oh, let's make Amy the bitch. You know, so that I can say Lisa's a good person.
Yeah.
You know? So all right, so you know, Amy's the bitch, and you know, but they have this whole thing. It's an entire episode around this fireplace, and no one like points to the fact that Shane has a stone here.
Yeah. Like, oh, remember Shane? Yeah.
Who?
And like nobody knows. Like nobody knows that Tim has no stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can nobody know that Tim has no stone?
Yeah.
No, I don't get it.
Yep.
Even back to Lindy and Amy's relationship, like, you know, Lindy's always this angel almost, and it would be fun to kind of see her do something bad, or like, you know, being a normal kid. Yeah. And Amy, you know, handling that, but there's even none of that.
Same with Katie though. Like she was more involved when she was younger as opposed to her now.
Yeah.
Like,
but even
Katie, I think Z is a great actress. I mean, I really think she handles that role really well. So I think they could give her this thing. But instead, you know, and I don't have a problem with Ava. I love Ava's character, you know, but they made her too much like Mallory as far as I'm concerned. So that it's sort of like, do we need that?
Yeah.
You know, we could have had her be Katie's buddy who's like lives next door and always Sam's daughter, who's always coming over to hang out with her friend. Anything. Instead, she's this like half orphan, another child whose parents can't stand the idea that they have a child.
Yeah, even with Mallory, like her parents were always off to, wherever.
You know, and listen, the way this whole thing went was that I talked to my mom and told her I wanted to stay in Hudson. So she said, "Okay, stay till the end of the school year."
Yeah.
So
and
now
she lives at
does she live in
Heartland.
Heartland now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not
how does
even
that
with
work
Jade.
exactly?
Yeah.
But it's it. It's just another abandoned kid on this show.
Yeah.
Jade feels abandoned because she talks about her father's getting remarried, wife number 2 and whatever. Amy's from a broken home. Lou, obviously a broken home. Ty, Jack's dad is a drunk. So we know that didn't work out well. And Caleb's parents, we never hear about Tim's parents. We have to assume they were complete fuck ups. So, I mean, where are we in all this? Is Cass is the only one who's got good parents who
apparently, yeah. Maybe Lisa. We don't know.
Well, we have Adam.
We're never
Adam's parents are guys, are
yeah,
okay,
they seem
apparently.
normal.
But even then, we don't see these good parents ever
on
screen.
We don't.
It's just like, it's this.
Same with Lou and Peter, though, leaving Katie with Jack and Lisa for how many seasons?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean that's it. So we have, for this great family show, this Christian show, where they can't show, a couple kissing if they're same sex, but we can have absolutely the worst couples on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
I mean, I found, Soile's story is basically Ty and Amy get divorced. I didn't go that route because I didn't want the blowback that she got. I mean, I got whatever blowback I got. And certainly when Amy, chows down on some chick, they're like, not real happy. That's the jumping off point for that fic. But the truth of the matter is, there's no relationship, anything. None of these people have a relationship. The Flemings are broken people. Their relationships suck. Marion and Tim and the daughters, Lou and, count them on your fingers, even Amy and Ty, just the worst relationship in the world. 8 seasons to barely get married, and then 5 seasons of barely being together.
Yeah.
And always on the verge of an argument or, complete non-communication. Even Lisa and Jack spend half their time as, holding secrets from each other. Fairfield's doing back. I'm not going to tell John, him. Yeah. He gets sick. He doesn't want to tell Lisa. Give me a break. I mean, at what point is any of these going to be adults?
You can send them all to therapy.
I put it into one recent fic I wrote. I said, Amy says to Jack, "Grandpa, us Flemings, we're as broken a family as the Bordens are."
They make it seem like Ty's was so awful, as if their family's any better. Maybe not physically abusive, but
talking is overrated.
They are physically abusive because we've recently learned that Jack's father hit him.
Oh my God, really?
Right? Yeah, in this episode
when did we learn that?
Where his son comes back, he's having a conversation with June, and basically, the conversation is, Dad shouldn't have hit you.
Oh my God.
He tells his father, well, his father's a drunk. Did you know Jack's father was a drunk up until season 13? No, we don't know. Or season 12, whatever it is, we don't know that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that either.
We see Jack's grandpa, who's doing what grandpas are supposed to be doing, by the way, which is sitting on the porch and watching younger people work. As opposed to, telling your granddaughter, no. That's Jack's job now, is to tell Amy she can't, there's no advancement for you. This is your fucking life right here. We're not expanding the barn. We're not putting a second floor on the house. We're not adding a bathroom. Can you imagine Lisa not having her own bathroom?
I know.
I mean, it makes no sense. The woman has grown up with wealth.
Yeah.
She's now living in some fucking unheated hovel where she has to share a toilet with 12 people.
Well, there's the outhouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's the solution for that problem.
Well, they all live in the house. Lou and Amy still live in their childhood rooms.
Yeah.
That's it. And the truth is that's it. We're actually back to this bizarre conversation of strong women who are completely under the thumbs of the men they deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
You know, they just there's just no middle ground on any of this. Jack has literally been to Europe once. We won't see it again, even at the end of a season. And it's the most childish thing in the world. Get up off your old fucking ass, get on a plane, and take your wife to Europe. What is the issue? I just don't understand it. It's not like he's out doing cow shit every day. You never see him with her.
He should be retired.
You know,
and the thing is, you know, Jack, when he was younger, he used to travel. So it's like, what doesn't he get?
Home. Tim was never home. Peter was not home. Ty has left, 4 times, 6 times. None of them hang around. Amy never leaves the ranch. Yeah. When was the last time we actually even saw her at Maggie's? Season 11?
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
You know?
Probably.
Her vacation, the last vacation she took was actually fixing a horse.
Oh, yeah.
And Ty says it. You can get away. You can go to this artist colony, and all you have to do is fix Joan's horse. Was that her name, Joan? That's all. It'll be just like a vacation. You know, I won't be there. Your daughter won't be there. But it'll be nice. You'll be alone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, really? Does she shop? Every now and then they go to the bakery, get donuts or something. I mean, she never leaves.
Yeah.
Everybody else leaves. Did we even see her driving her car this season?
I don't
think so.
There is not one episode where she's in her truck.
No. Yeah.
No, I don't think
I just don't get, you know.
Yeah.
I understand. Look, I got it. You're down to 10 episodes, but there's nothing normal about what's going on at this stage of the game.
Yeah.
So and next season there's going to be Cooper stuff, you know.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, well, there's got to be something. I mean, she's basically hinted that there won't, but you know,
the writers are going to egg at it. That's for sure.
She'll get asked out, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they'll. If they go this, you know, you should go online and set up a profile route. I'm turning the TV off. I just,
like I don't.
Yep, I agree.
I just don't see that. You know, it was dumb enough with Jack and Lisa and Lou and you know, it obviously doesn't work because Kevin McGarry is basically the best character in the world for her.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But well, here I'll give you a prime example of how they treat women on this show. He's in love with this woman named Maya, right? Who would in real life have absolutely nothing to do with him. Nothing. She's a vegan. Why would she possibly fall in love with a rancher?
Yeah.
You know, you might as well get asked out by Donald Trump's son. Would you go?
No.
I'm talking to Isabelle.
No.
I mean, seriously, you know, there's all these memes about, you know, somebody finds out, you know, a Democrat finds out that the person they're on a blind date with is a Republican and says, I'm out of here, you know.
Yeah. And even
the guy raises cattle for slaughter.
Yeah.
Rides on horses, which is something vegans, you know, are split on.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but how does that happen? You know, How does it happen that she's a vegan and doesn't care that your job is literally raising animals for slaughter?
Yeah, I guess love is blind or something.
Literally.
So they make her into a complete ditz, and then they screw her in the end because he leaves her at the altar.
Yeah.
That's how they treat women.
Yeah. And now not even Mitch and Lou are going to be together, so
yeah.
Oh, look, if they put her and Peter back together, that was the most abusive relationship in the world. I don't know what people see in the world these days. Well, aside from Ty and Amy, that's a pretty abusive relationship. But Peter and Lou, you know, when you start your relationship based on a lie,
yeah,
you know, I'm not going to tell anybody about you, and we won't tell people I'm dating the oil guy. I mean, you know, what do you expect?
Yeah.
I don't understand how you get from, he almost blew up my sister. Because there's this scene where, you know, they're riding with Ty and Caleb and Mallory, and these explosions go off 50 feet away from them. And that's somehow all forgotten.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he sent the bulldozer up the side of a mountain. So he's basically bought their, you know, bribed them for their acknowledgement of him. Lou's immediately, as you really don't know him, he's a good guy. No. The guy who handed you $10,000 to shut up is a good guy. That's your guy. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how we get there. He never changes. He never not becomes an oil guy. He's always an oil guy. You know? So what? He's dealing with, how do we, you know, there's one episode where they're in the kitchen, he's talking about, how do we make oil sands sound attractive? Well, you don't. You're certainly not going to find them attracted to somebody in Alberta like Amber Marshall.
Yeah.
You know, who's actually come out and been political about the oil industry.
Yeah, for the first time,
you know,
ever,
Actually, she did it years ago, but.
Did she? Oh.
Yeah, and you know, she lives I think a lot of her beliefs are very scripted, Amber Marshall.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not really sure where she falls in any of this. But at least she shuts up.
Yeah.
You know, people ask me why I hate Graham Wardle. Well, I don't hate Graham Wardle. You know, I was fine with Graham Wardle while he kept his mouth shut.
Yeah.
But he's got that check mark and the star next to his name. And if he's going to say things that I consider completely stupid, I'm going to, you know, say something about it.
Yeah.
Where she never really did anything like that. You know? And, you know, so that's it. I find, you know, in terms of gender on this show, I don't think they ask, you know, anybody's opinion. I think, you know, if it was up to Michelle wrote episodes, I think things would be a little different, you know, in those episodes.
Yeah.
But I don't think they have any desire to push the box, to push the envelope, and
I mean, why would they?
Anything
in a way? Because
you know, and even now, I mean, we're back. We're literally, you know. Ty's a hero because he sells the Norton. He's finally decided that this bike that she's despised since the day he drove up in it shouldn't really be part of the ranch. And then they bring the fucking thing back. You know?
Yeah, that was
and
really
now it's
weird.
Just there. It's going to be, you know, for the 80-year-old guy, almost 90, he's now going to drive the Norton around.
Yeah.
In the snow.
That's what I said. I was like, you've got to be kidding, right? Like, and you can see they're going really slow. Like
in the snow. So what's the, you know, I said to myself, so the next episode is what? Everybody's at the Cross Bay Hospital or something, or whatever the place is called. You know, Jack is up in this seat with his hands in the air. You know,
full body cast.
Yeah. You know, and Lindy's sitting on her bed and she's got her hand in a sling and, you know, a big bruise on her head.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, I don't know. All right, I got the season was written before the change, before we knew when we were filming. But maybe not drive away in the motorcycle in the snow.
Yeah.
Maybe we do that when the snow is melted. You know, so
They could have done like in the last episode, like the 6-month jump and be like,
they could have done anything
Yeah.
other than have the 90-year-old guy and the mom, right, ride away on a motorcycle in the snow.
yeah,
You know, I mean, they really could have had anything else other than that. They could have had the
Anything but
episode about
that.
the truck.
Yeah.
Why does the
Yeah.
episode have to be about the motorcycle?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
it
know?
was the trip with Jack, but like, you know,
Yeah.
they could have done that with the truck as well.
So I mean, that's the. I think they started writing for convenience. They don't want to rock the boat for UPTV. They don't want to, you know, make any of these conservative people have to stretch it all to imagine a situation. And they want to write this candy apple stuff, like riding away on the motorcycle. Like, now we're going to keep the motorcycle.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll keep it going. And maybe every now and then they'll show it, you know. Oh, look, there's the motorcycle on like the blue truck. You know, there's the motorcycle over there. There's the blue truck. It's in a scene with Parker and then it disappears. Like, who's driving around the blue truck?
Yeah. Like, not even Amy, who could do that.
Right. There's no scene of her looking at the truck, touching the truck. There's nothing. It's just there. Like, you know, and how sad is it that the truck is going to end up next to Goldie and the red truck just rotting in a field, because who's going to drive it? She's got a nice brand new truck.
Yep.
Right. And, you know, Jack's never going to drive it, because then we'll just have episodes about him breaking down again.
Yeah.
And I think we've had enough of those.
Yeah.
You know, Lisa's not getting into that thing for $1 million.
Yeah, and Georgie,
Right?
if
So-
Georgie would take it over, people would be really
they would
mad.
Oh,
so
yeah,
much.
that would freak them out altogether. So, you know, I don't know what it is they're thinking. I don't know what they have planned for season 15. But, you know, at this stage of the game, they're sort of stuck in that they can't do the barn. I don't understand why they can't have her working at Fairfield. I mean, there's certainly enough stables at Fairfield for Amy to have a couple of $200,000 jumpers in there she's working with.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, but I think they missed the boat on things like, they have Nick early on, and basically they say the words that Nick gets $500 an hour. This was with Ben and Nick. They have Ben meet Nick, right, for one thing, and for you know, back in season 1, so that Nick can look at him. And Cindy's character, Ashley, says, really, Nick Harwell, he's $500 an hour for training, right? Now, you tell me that in season 14, Amy can't get $500 an hour to train jumpers. She trained the number 1 and number 2 jumpers in the last fall finale.
Yeah.
She not only trained Phoenix, she trained, look at Soile for the name of that horse. Not
Which horse?
Diamond. The horse that lost the full finale. Peyton, the one Peyton Westfield.
Oh, Val's
rode.
horse.
Val's
Oh,
horse.
Flame.
Right. So Amy trained both of those horses. You would think that the next episode would be people saying, train my rider and horse. But no, it's complete. Not only that, Georgie fires her. That's the next episode. The episode after winning the fall finale, after falling flat on her face, is you're fired. Who does that? I tell you one thing, no first place baseball team fires their manager, ever. It just doesn't happen, right? If you've gone all the way with the coach, you don't fire the coach. You find out how you can find the time to work together.
Yeah.
And then they go off and pay what's her face a fortune. So my question is, was Amy get paid for training Georgie? What do you think?
Yeah, like
You think
probably
Amy
not.
gets paid for fixing? You think Amy got paid for fixing Fairfield Flyer? I don't know. I would hope so.
Yeah.
I would hope Amy got her 15% for riding Charger in the futurity race.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because we don't deal with money.
Yeah.
Instead of her making money, we have Ty becoming the hero by selling the North.
Yeah.
He's finally realized after 14 years that, you know, it's time for me not to ride around on this death trap because I have a wife and young daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. And, you know, Amy, she gets to succeed as far as the storyline will take her without, quote unquote, changing her. As if you can't be a good person and wealthy, like Lisa. Lisa's a bitch. She's wealthy and she was such a good person. And then all of a sudden we have a cloned horse.
Yeah.
We all of a sudden, Lisa is Lex Luthor. You know, Lisa is now some supervillain.
Yeah.
Who does this? Same thing with the when we fix the race. Fairfield literally fixes a race in season 12. The horse is prepped to win.
Oh, right.
Right?
Yes.
They don't report it to anybody. They don't say anything about it. They almost do it a second time. And you can't blame, what's her name? Laura, the coach.
Yeah, Laura.
The manager, because it's a Fairfield horse. Lisa's the owner. If that horse is found cheating, it's not Laura that foots the bill. It's Lisa. They yank her license in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and then because she was gone that whole season, she comes back and they don't even talk about it.
That's it. It's just a non-issue. We don't even know if she knows about it because they wouldn't tell her.
Yeah.
Because she's too frail to actually hear the news.
And even Jack said, like, don't tell Lisa, like, we'll figure it out.
She's dealing with enough. Her poor little pea brain can only handle so much. You know, as if she's in the hospital taking care of her aunt personally.
Yeah.
As if her rich aunt doesn't have nurses and attendants and a doctor. It's Lisa doing it. She can't handle. She's a woman. We don't want to bother her with this. You know, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, it just completely disappears.
Yeah.
So Lisa's she's the bitch who leaves Jack. She has this cloned horse. She's pushy sometimes. You know, we always put her and Amy at loggerheads. It's all kind of like, you know, it's all kind of like as if women don't support themselves at all. You know, as if there's little, even Lou and Amy, you know, can you imagine, you know, Lou says, well, Amy, you must have done something to get Ahmed to act like this. Like, and she says back to him, I think she actually brings up this Chenoweth guy. Well, maybe not. She just, you know, makes it. So basically you're saying that if a, you know, guy walks into Maggie's and puts his hand on your ass, that somehow this is something you were supposed to be responsible for.
Yeah.
And it's just like these people with Alicia's picture.
Yeah.
Well, you're showing pictures like that, it's going to turn all the guys on. So, you know, I don't know. They did it. So basically there isn't a woman on this show who hasn't somehow been I don't even know, demoralized, devalued as a personality. It's just everybody.
Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to bring up about the couples and everything was Jade and Clay, because I really hated that relationship because, you know, he's this jerk and he's oh like, you know, women are like not good enough and all that, and then, you know, she shows him that, you know, she's capable of everything, and then he's like, well, yeah, you know, I guess you are, and then you know, she kind of goes like, well, he's not all that bad, like, because he likes his aunt Casey, and that's kind
of they do that with Lou also.
Yeah.
And with Georgie and Adam, you know, it's sort of like, you know, you're allowed to break up and actually break up. You know, you don't have to you don't have to make it as if, you know, every woman has to like go back over their life 1,000 times to move forward. You know? So, you know, it's just kind of ridiculous. Like, what was the point of all this Dan Hartfield stuff at the beginning? You know, I mean, do we have to make it sound like, you know, at first we have, you know, Lisa saying, you know, Dan saying to him, this is my, you know, what do you do with my wife? You know, when they go to that auction. And then, you know, Jack just picks up and leaves because, you know, God forbid he would actually like confront Lisa. And say, you know, you could have mentioned that you're married to this asshole. And she would have said, I'm divorced. And that would have been over. Maybe, you know, Jack probably would have hit Dan or something. No, we have to have this whole thing where, oh my God, she stepped on my Lego. Now I have to go home, you know, and you know, she gets abandoned by 2 men. The whole thing is absurd. They screwed over Kit. Kit was a perfectly normal character in season 2. They make her like the bitch at a rodeo in season 3. Ashley and Caleb get divorced. I mean, who else is there? You know, every single woman, you know, they have, what's her name? Soraya dating Chase. Is there any woman on this show that can just be a normal, everyday woman who isn't involved in all of this ridiculous drama that they've come up with? You know, they've got Ty with Kit and Amy in season 2, Amy with Caleb and Ty in season 2, Caleb with Ashley, and I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like a Roman gladiators arena. And nice actually talking to you. Like typically everything I see
so
is
nice.
I text.
It's always like,
Yeah, it's so much easier being able to physically speak than it is to text. So.
Oh yeah, and much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Anyway, good night, good afternoon. Well, good night to Soile, because it's nighttime there.
Yeah, it's bedtime.
And we're in the same time zone.
We are,
actually, come Saturday, I should just say this. Come Friday, actually, I'm going to be 4 hours from Isabelle by car.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because my daughter lives in upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
So I'm pretty much, I think, like 4.5 or 5 hours from. You're in Toronto, right? So pretty much 4.5.
Yeah, close to Toronto.
Yeah, so pretty much 4.5 hours or something.
Wow, that's not far at all. Yeah.
No, not by car. Considering I'm further from my daughter than she is from you. So it's going to take me like 6 hours to get to her. And it will probably be like 4 hours, depending on traffic, to get to you when getting across the border, which they won't allow me to do. So.
Yeah, no, can't do that.
There's no crossing the border.
Yeah. Unless you can swim.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
It was a pleasure. I'll see you all somewhere.
So that was our episode, and I hope you liked it because we really had fun talking with
We had
our guests.
so much fun talking to Neil. So much fun.
Hopefully we'll have new guests sometime in the future, but till then, I guess we'll see you next week. And as always, keep your nose clean.
And your powder dry, as I say. Take care, everyone. We will see you next week.
Yeah.